Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 138 of the Stomp the Bus show. I'm your host, Mark Harris, and I'm joined by a guest. His name is Chris on the YouTube stream, but his Twitter handle is at SmartSunDevil, or I guess X handle. And I think he's one of the more interesting ASU accounts on the on Twitter or X. And he's joining us to kind of recap the Texas State game and dive into this big upcoming matchup against Baylor. So, Chris, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the Texas State game wasn't like smooth sailing for the whole 60 minutes, but in all, it was kind of what you wanted to see after that terrible loss to Mississippi State. So, what were your thoughts about that game?
So very, very similar to that. I felt like it was progress from the Mississippi State game, but it wasn't like a 100% reversion to like where ASU left off at the end of last year. Right. And so like Sam Leavitt played better. He did some amazing things, but he also wasn't like super consistent. I think the offense was better, but still a little clunky at times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the defense had its moments, and then, kind of did some bend but don't break stuff in the second half where they gave up a lot of yards and seemed content with giving up like long, slow scoring drives. Like they were just. It just seemed like Brian Ward was okay with Texas State. Like we're up 27-6 or 27-3 or whatever it was. Or 34-9, and like if they take a long drive, like a 12-play 80-yard drive and score a touchdown, we're cool with that.
Yeah,
like that's kind of what it seemed like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I did not expect ASU to be in a point where they would be up 34-9 in this game or 27-3. Like, I predicted ASU to win 35-24, and I thought it was just going to kind of be. Like the offensive effort I kind of expected. And then what's funny is like they kind of didn't really try on offense either for the fourth quarter. So you never know how that would have played out. And then, but I thought the defense, while you're right, like they did kind of ease off the effort, you could say in the.
Yeah, I wouldn't say effort. I just think the play calling was less aggressive. And
Yeah. So I'll be honest, like being at the game, I feel because you're right, it doesn't wash everything away, but I felt like this was the type of game that we needed to see after the Mississippi State game, where that's a game that's just gonna haunt ASU this whole season, I feel like. And I know it doesn't count in the Big 12 standings, but if it's the difference between ASU, who knows? Maybe they'll win out or they'll go 10-2 this year. But if it's the difference between ASU going 8-4 versus going 9-3, and like that's going to be like,
Yeah. The thing where it could come back to bite them is if they finish 10-2, go 8-1 in conference, and then it keeps them out of at-large consideration in the college football playoff. That's where it could really come back to bite them.
Right, because like if ASU or any Big 12 team, like if they go 11-1, lose the Big 12 championship game, then there's a pretty good shot you're in the mix for at large, like SMU last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like SMU, and I think they should have got in, but like that's how they made it happen, and now that's off the table, and man, like I don't want to harp on that game too much, but like it sucks that you have to, because I feel like they could have gotten all the lessons from that game, even if they just, made better defensive play calls in the last minute of the game.
Yeah.
That's what kind of sucks is you saw you saw Rayleigh Brown and Kanye Udo and the offensive line, for that matter, like really figure some things out in that second half. You saw the defense I think they played a pretty good game overall.
They did, except for 3 plays. Like,
Yeah.
they gave up 3 long touchdown passes, and then other than that, played fantastic.
And
And so,
that first drive against the Bulldogs, like I was like, all right, you guys can have this. Like clearly, like our coach, not on purpose, but insulted the area, which maybe Dillingham will learn to just be a little bit more coy in the future, but that's probably not going to happen with him. And whatever. I wasn't upset about that one, but and the other thing is they were put in such terrible positions too because Levitt was just atrocious in the first half, and so that's what really hurts about that game. The good thing is like they're not going to be like if ASU loses to this game to Baylor, it's because Baylor's offense is just really good. I don't think it's going to be because of like being like shocked by the road environment, or I doubt it'll be like not being ready to play or something like that. Like I think it'll be because Sawyer Robertson and that offense and those outside pass catchers just make plays. So that's the good thing. But it does like I kind of compare it to there's an elements of the 2021 BYU game. And that game, that obviously there was like the whole situation around the program was different. The thing that stung so much about that game was like, this is our last chance for a bit, and we have a talented team. We know that the next few years are going to be dreadful. And it was just a mismanagement for that game particularly.
yeah.
So it's not quite as bad as that one, but it is in like the same bin of like, you were the better team, and Mississippi State has been better than we thought they would be.
Yeah. Most of the analytics have Mississippi State as a lot better than everyone predicted. I don't think they'll be the worst team in the SEC. Their schedule's still really tough, and so the thing is, they may still go 6-6 or 5-7.
I would take 6-6 from them as an ASU.
But 5-7 against their schedule. Like a pretty good team could go 5-7 against their schedule. Yeah. So it just seems to this point, it seems like they're better than last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good thing that like, it doesn't look like, well, because the thing is like if this year's even with all the mistakes they made in that game in Starkville, if they played last year's version of Mississippi State, then they just would have won that game, because like they just weren't as good. And so anyway, that's in the past, and it's so good that that game did not count as a conference loss.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge I don't have this whole like conference pride thing as much when we were in the Pac-12. It kind of just went away, and because I feel like everyone's just kind of waiting like what's it going to be like in 2030, like we're just trying to do the best we can and until the more whatever, if there is a super league or whatever it may be. But like that, I think that's what really added to it was like, oh, the best Big 12 team lost to the worst SEC team, at least entering the year. And it's like, that's not a good look perceptually. And so that definitely added on to like some of the outside discussion.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, with Texas State, like you're right. Like the defense at the end wasn't great, but like keeping that team down for a whole half hour of football and holding them to 3 points. Like,
the really good thing about that game is I never thought Texas State was ever in the game.
Right.
Like, there was never a point where like I ever thought that it was going to be close. Like ASU totally controlled the first half, probably didn't score as many points as they could have, but 20-3, you just never felt like Texas State was ever going to make any sort of push or run or anything to get the game closer. And that's what you want to see against what is it? Is it group of 6 now? What
I just call it group of 5.
Yeah. Group of 5, group of 6, whatever it is. But against a team like that, that's what you want to see. So
for sure. I mean, they were like, they probably will be better than one of the Big 12 teams that ASU plays this year. It's probably going to be what, like either Colorado or West Virginia, one of those two, because Houston looks a lot better than we
Yeah,
thought.
I think Houston's a lot better than they were
And then
last
Arizona
year.
is clearly
Yeah,
better than
U of
like.
A looks better than they were last year. Oklahoma State looks terrible.
Well,
Kansas State might be
oh
really
yeah,
bad, which is really surprising.
I
But
know. Yeah, yeah, they really struggled. I mean, that's like Kansas State, looking at them, because they were the consensus favorite entering the year.
yeah,
It was like Kansas State 550, ASU like 650, and then you had like Utah or Texas Tech or maybe a Baylor like in that next tier. And I'm, at least in my head, I'm like, okay, like ASU, like they've started out not great, but they also like nothing is out of the picture. And I mean, Sam Levitt hasn't started out that great, but then you compare him to all the other quarterbacks that were getting hyped entering the year, and he's like having the best season of anyone other than John Mateer in terms of the QBs that were like getting hyped entering the year. The guy at
yeah.
Cal, Saga Putele, I think he's been, I mean, a revelation. I actually really hope that Cal can keep him. We'll see. Got to ask like Jared Goff to siphon off some of his NFL check and send it back. But yeah, anything else you want to mention about the Texas State game? I guess like it's nice to see ASU's offense still really put up some. It wasn't necessarily consistent, but it still had a bunch of great plays.
Yeah,
That was with I just want to make one little. That was with like Levitt missed Harpole on the outside play. That was
yeah.
probably his worst play of the day. Rayleigh Brown drops a screen pass that looks like it would have picked up a first down, and then Darren Hamilton can't reel in a deep ball from Levitt. And so like there's definitely still things to fix, but like you still saw like the firepower that's there.
That's the one thing is like, between Levitt and Tyson and Raleek Brown, like they just have athletes. And I don't know, man, it's been a long time since ASU has had athletes that good at those positions. And the one thing that's nice when you have athletes like that is that when the offense doesn't have a rhythm,
Right.
or not everything's going right, like those athletes can still make plays and keep drives alive. And I feel like that's kind of what was happening
Yeah.
against Texas State is they would get themselves in a 3rd and long, and then Levitt would convert on a scramble, or they converted a few 4th downs, and and we know what Tyson did on the 1 touchdown, and Rayleigh is electric, and those guys can just make plays. And so, the athleticism just kind of bails out the offense at times.
Right.
But I mean, it's better that than not, And
Totally.
so, like, what I would love to see the offense continue to be more consistent and get into a rhythm. But like I said, Texas State was an improvement over Mississippi State, and so you can't fix everything all at once. And so they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And I absolutely agree with the getting into a rhythm part. It's just a much more not necessarily enjoyable way to watch football, but like it's more comforting to just like see a 7-yard completion and then like a 4-yard run and then like a 12-yard screen pass or what. And we saw a little bit of that in the second half with that first drive that really featured Mateer. And I think getting him back involved in a big way is really important for the success of this team. I understand why they didn't do it in the second half against Mississippi State, because he's just such a good blocker, and you need and I mean it kind of worked, right? But I really like seeing Mateer get involved in the pass game. But speaking about the lack of down-to-down consistency, Parker Fleming on Twitter at Stats of War, he's a TCU guy. He does this chart. It's net success rates, And it basically, I'm explaining this to the people listening and maybe people watching, but like it shows like how bad, based on a down to down basis, did a team beat another team. And the top of the list is Michigan, really beat Central Michigan by a lot. And at the bottom, makes perfect sense. It's LSU, maybe shouldn't have beat Florida, but since DJ Lagway throws 5 picks, that's how it ends up being the final. ASU is third to last in this. And I get that Texas State, like you said, is particularly in the second half, like really strung some good drives together and was better on a down-to-down basis. But I still can't see how, even with some of the inconsistency that ASU did show, that it's like that low in this type of graph. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so I looked at it and did some math, and I kind of separated the success rates in the first half from the second half. And ASU did have a success rate advantage in the first half. They did a better job of stopping Texas State's offense, and Arizona State's offense was not incredibly efficient. Like ASU's success rate was a little over 50%, which is fine. It's not really good,
right?
But it's not bad either. But they did hold Texas State to a low success rate in the first half. But then that flipped in the second half. And we kind of talked about part of the reason. Part of the reason is ASU seemed content letting Texas State string together a long drive. They were okay giving up 5 yards and 5 yards and 5 yards. And for people who don't know, success rate is it's the percentage of your plays that are successful. And a successful play on first down is 50% of the yards needed to get a first down. On second down, it's like 60% of the yards needed to get a first down. And then on third and fourth down, it's all the yards needed to get a first down. And so, and Texas State was just getting like 5, 6, 7 yards a chunk in the second half. And so they strung together quite a few successful plays. Those drives took a long time because ASU was giving up successful plays, but they were not giving up explosives, right? They weren't giving up 15, 20, 25-yard chunks. They were giving up 7-yard chunks, 5-yard chunks. And they seemed okay with that. And then on the other side, on ASU's offense in the second half, for example, the first touchdown drive, ASU scored a touchdown on a drive in which they had like a 38% success rate, which is kind of wild. And that was the drive where they had a fourth down conversion. They had some third and long conversions. And so when they would run for no yards on first down, and that's an unsuccessful play. Then they run for 2 yards on second down, and that's an unsuccessful play. And then on third down, on 3rd and 8, they'd get 7 yards, and that's an unsuccessful play. And then they convert a fourth and 1, right? And so you'd have like 1 of 4 successful plays in that 4-down series. And so having like a long touchdown drive where your success rate is below 40% is not common. And then their second touchdown was a 1-play drive. It was the long run by Raleek Brown. So it was 1 successful play. And the thing with success rate is a 7-yard run on first down counts as just successful as a 75-yard run on first down. Right. And so and that's why you have to look at both the success rate and like explosiveness.
Right.
And if you look at Parker Fleming's thread, the second tweet below the chart says all net success. Scroll up just a hair.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
There we go, right there. All net success rate does is strip out some noise and present a view of how 2 teams compared in the down-to-down business of moving the football. Games are won and lost with explosives, special teams, turnovers, etc. And looking at net success rate just shows us how close the margins were. It's a good diagnostic to go back and look at a game and learn something. And then he has some examples like positive net success rate and lost. Like what went wrong. And so if you're Texas State and you're like, well, we had a higher success rate, what went wrong? Well, they didn't have a higher success rate until they were already way behind in the game. Yeah. That's part of the thing. And then they gave up explosives, and they gave up 3rd and long conversions, and they gave up 4th down conversions. And that's how you have a net success rate advantage and lose. And on the other side of it, that's how ASU has a net success rate advantage or disadvantage and still wins.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. Yeah. Well, because I think if you listen to this show, like you're on X and you see that tweet floating around, and it sometimes at first glance it can look like, oh, did we not deserve to win or whatever? But that's not really. It's the more you explain it to me, it's kind of like batting average in baseball, where it's like a infield single counts the exact same on the batting average as a grand slam, you know? And so Rayleigh Brown housing it for 75 yards is a grand slam, whereas Texas State making a 6-yard pass on 1st and 10 is the single, but it counts the same. So
yeah. And so looking at success rate and explosiveness is kind of like taking OPS instead of just batting average, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, well, I mean, you know, ASU didn't have much explosive plays against Mississippi State, save for the late Rayleigh Brown run, right? That if only he made it to the end zone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that run was so incredible too. He has been just an absolute revelation, because you see, I feel like the way he was talked about, it's like in all sports teams you watch, there's like the guy who stars at camp and then doesn't really do anything. And right now that's Jaron Hamilton for ASU, but I think that he'll come around. He has the tools, clearly. But it's so cool for Rayleigh Brown to just be able to put it all together, you know? And man, when you can just see his juice on the field, and
he's electric, and it's like, you know, he's it's not often that ASU has a guy that explosive and that electric. Like you know, Eno Benjamin was a fantastic running back.
Oh, for sure.
And you know, who knows? Raleek may end up being as good as Eno. He may not. Eno was great and amazing, but even Eno didn't have, and Eno had moves, but he doesn't have that electricity that Raleek has.
No.
And and so he's exciting to watch.
I feel like because I feel like Rashad White probably had the most like juice, just athletic explosiveness, whatever turn. Like
Rashad was smooth. Rashad didn't, because he was so smooth, he almost made it look too easy.
Yeah. That's you could that's true.
But yeah.
So great to see him, and he should have a big role this weekend, because Baylor their offense is awesome. Sawyer Robertson has probably been the best quarterback among Big 12 teams so far, depending on what you think of Devin Dampier, but I'd probably still go Sawyer Robertson. And I mean, their offense, like ASU is going to get had a few times in this game by their offense. I think, like, if you're an ASU fan and you're just expecting like them to completely bottle up Baylor this weekend, then you're just going to be disappointed. Like they're going to be especially with, you know, no Xavier Alford and potentially no Montana Warren as well. That coming out earlier today from SunDevil source, like that's, you know, a little bit troubling. But the thing that I keep coming back to in this game is like Baylor's defense just has been bad, and their rush defense, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but like it hasn't been good at all. And I just think, especially after how these previous 3 weeks have gone, and Dillingham, you know, for the most part being a smart coach and not trying to overthink things, it just seems like ASU is just going to run the ball a lot in this game, and maybe it works to the level they want to, and maybe it won't. But I foresee this being a lot of running. What about you?
Yeah, I think it does seem like they, you know, at halftime of the Mississippi State game was a moment where the coaching staff seemed to realize that the offense was going to have to be different than what they were planning on at the beginning of the season. And so I think we continue to see this transition to a more run first, play action pass offense rather than, depend on Sam Levitt's arm. Like it seemed like they wanted to try to do at the beginning of the year. And so, yeah. And, I've watched 2 of Baylor's games. So I watched the game against Auburn and I watched their win over SMU. I didn't watch their game against whatever
Samford
last week. Yeah. And my immediate thought after their game against Auburn was that Baylor could be dangerous, but they're flawed. And they kind of remind me of like the good dirt cutter ASU teams, in that like a really good offense, particularly a really good passing offense. They can move the ball, but defense isn't good enough for them to be a really complete, good team that can actually win a conference championship. And so I think Baylor's like a 9-3, 8-4 team. They're gonna beat someone really good because there's gonna be a game where Sawyer Robertson goes off for 500 yards and throws 6 touchdown passes. Yep. And they're gonna beat someone good in a shootout. Maybe it's ASU. I don't know. But they also get like because they're incomplete, they're not gonna run through their conference schedule. Like they're gonna lose some games. Largely due to the fact that their run defense isn't good enough. So that's why I feel so. Sawyer Robertson, he's really good. I don't see him as like he's not great. He's good at doing what that offense asked him to do. And it'll be interesting to see him in tougher situations and see how well he can actually make plays himself. I'm not saying he can't do it. I just don't think he's proved it on a consistent basis yet.
Okay.
But he's definitely good enough. Like you put him in a good situation with really good athletes. Like they've got receivers that are just fantastic, right? They've got the big receiver. What's the big guy's name? The 34?
Oh,
that dude, he's so big.
I think it's Josh Cameron.
Yeah. And they've got another receiver that's big and good, and they throw the ball a ton, and they can move the ball, and he makes the throws that the offense asks him to make, and he executes that offense really well. I just don't know, like, if you put him in a situation where they're playing a really good team, can he consistently fit the ball in tight windows downfield, and beat like a top 10 type team? I don't know. Maybe he can. Maybe he can. But
no, I think the dirt cutter ASU teams are a bit before my time, but just looking back in Wikipedia and kind of seeing how over the years and seeing the final records and seeing how the games go, it's like, oh, okay, like this was what it was. It was like a better version of the late Todd Graham years, but not all the way what you want. And so, yeah, that would be a big. That's the type of team that, like, I think ASU is able to hang with and beat. Because the way I've kind of thought about it, like, I think if you rate, like, I think you can make an argument, and I think a lot of the advanced stats, whether it be Kelly Ford or all the different people on Twitter, they have ASU and Baylor kind of in the same, like,
they're both like mid 40s.
Yeah, exactly. And through this point, like, that's what ASU has looked like to this point in the year. That doesn't mean they'll stay that way, and same with Baylor, but they could both be argued of being like the 42nd team in the country. Like they're both kind of in that range. And I think if you're rating offense, like Baylor probably has a 9 out of 10 offense and maybe a 3 out of 10 defense, where I'd say ASU's offense is to this point, I'd say has been like 6 out of 10 and the defense has probably been 7.5 out of
Something
10.
like that. Yeah.
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 And then, so what, like, it all, like evens out at whatever, like, whatever it may be. But like, I feel like ASU is the more complete team. Um, and what I'll say, like, I feel like if you can get Sam Levitt to just play pretty well on offense, and then you pair that with the run game, like, that's going to be tough for Baylor to stop. And we also, like, the quarterback run, like that first game, like they did not defend the quarterback run well at all. And maybe, granted, I'm sure some of that was them not quite expecting it as much from Jackson Arnold in the Auburn game. But people expect Sam Levitt to run when they play him now, and he still wriggles out of it and like
Yeah.
he mashes down the controller and he finds like 10 yards, and it's like, okay. I mean, like, I think that Sam Levitt just kind of picking up yards on the ground, like that's just kind of part of our offense. And I think that I've heard some fans be like, oh, he's going to get injured, and he might, but I feel like he does a decent, not great, but a decent job of not getting like lit up. But anyway, like that's a more further down the road conversation. But I think that that's something to watch in this game too. I mean, and he clearly like has the athleticism. I mean, that spin move play he made was,
He looks more athletic than he was last year, and he
yeah,
was playing athletic last year. And
yeah,
he just has an extra gear. Like he's one of the best athletes on the field, and he's slippery like Jake Plummer was.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's not just that he's a good athlete; it's also that he is a good runner with the
Yeah.
football. Like he has, like, he'll like weave his body to gain like 3 more yards, and he also knows, like, for the most part, knows when to take off too.
Yeah.
And he like puts his foot in the ground, then boom goes. And like, I think there was a play this past weekend when like a linebacker had him in open space, and it just like wasn't even competitive. And I'm just like, man, like this,
Yeah.
like it's at least fun to watch, if
He's confident in his ability to make one guy miss.
yeah.
And he's rightfully so, right?
I mean, yeah, like I think he'll be able to do that with I don't want to say with ease, but like with regularity against everyone this year other than Utah and Texas Tech. I think that those are the 2 best defenses ASU will play this year. And I think it'll, like, the running lanes and the windows will be more tighter against those 2 teams. But we're not playing them this weekend. So, we're playing Baylor, and he did it against Texas too. So we could do, that's the thing. Like, if you can do it against Texas, then last year's Texas. So that'll be a big thing to watch. What do you think about Boogie Wilson going into this game?
I mean, I was impressed with how he played. Like,
I mean,
he's a big hitter, and he also wasn't. He got a good grade from PFF in
okay,
in coverage,
right?
and so like he played great. I mean, it's going to hurt not having Alford against Baylor. You'd want to have your all conference safety against Alford, but Boogie did great. Hopefully he can repeat it. It's going to be a tougher job against Baylor than it was Texas State, and I'm sure he'll be tested. But he was good.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought Breedlove had a pretty good game. Bimage, I thought he's played well when
yeah.
Bimage wasn't the reason he lost it.
Bimage and Javen Robinson are like polar opposites from each other. So Robinson seems like his issue is he gives up. He's not aggressive enough. Like, he doesn't play tight enough coverage and gives up short routes underneath him. And then Bimage is the opposite. He's super aggressive, plays super tight, and his issue is he can get beat over the top at times.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of funny.
Well, the other issue for those 2 guys is they're always going to get picked on because Keith Abney has had just an outstanding season, and like you kind of just forget about him because he I mean, in the Mississippi State game, I feel like they didn't really go towards him that much. And then in the Texas State game, the one time he gets a completion, he forces a fumble, and he broke against the ball on the sideline in that game as well. And the PFF grades and all that, whatever you want to put into it, but like they've reflected that in their metrics. And so, I think the defensive line I think it's better than last year in terms of putting pressure on the quarterback. It's not like elite, I wouldn't say, but I feel like there's enough guys, and I think Clayton Smith is a pretty good, like, the production's there with Smith, and like that was the thing last year. It's like, oh, he's getting pressure but no production. This year, he's capitalizing on some sacks more, and I mean, seeing Alfred Smith fly off the edge against Texas State, like,
Yeah,
really nice to see.
I would love to see Albert Smith get more. He should be in on. I feel like he should be in on more third down passing situations. He's a little undersized, and so he's probably not an every down defensive end right now. But he seems to be the most explosive pass rusher they have. And
sure looked like it in that last game, yeah. And I mean, the defense, the D tackles have been good, and I mean, Keyshawn Elliott and Crook, like this is where like ASU hasn't really gotten. The only interception they've had is the kind of weird bounce in the NAU game. I think I really hope this can be. I'm not going to say I think, because I don't know, but I really hope that like some of the balls, like tips at the line of scrimmage, kind of just goes ASU's way in this one. And they had so many tips at the line of scrimmage against Mississippi State too. And that was a really kind of tough thing about that game, is like how well the defense played in the second half. And so like if they can just kind of bottle up like what they've done these last game and a half into this one, that could be the difference in Baylor scoring 24 points or 34 points,
Yeah.
What do you think about how the defense is done and how it kind of translates into this game?
I think the Baylor game is going to come down to finishing drives. I don't think ASU is going to stop Baylor from moving the ball between the 20s.
No, yeah.
I think there are lots of scenarios where ASU wins and Sawyer Robertson has 350 plus passing yards. The key is going to be like once they get inside the 30-yard line, do you hold them to a field goal or a field goal attempt
or fourth down?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, if Sawyer Robertson throws for 350 but has 4 touchdown passes, that's probably a bad sign. But if he throws for 350 and they don't convert their scoring opportunities and they miss a long field goal and you hold them to field goals instead of touchdowns and stuff like that, that's the situation where ASU wins. They're going to give up 450 total yards, and the key is going to be finishing drives, and on ASU's offense too. Like ASU is going to need to, when they cross the 50, they need to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
Because Baylor's dangerous and they can move the ball and they can score points, and so. But the key is going to be, ASU's defense seems to be pretty good at limiting explosives, minus that Mississippi State game. But history says, that Brian Ward's ASU defenses don't give up explosives, and they kind of want to do what I talked about. They're okay giving up some yards. They want to, maybe create some turnovers, create some havoc, get some sacks, make some big plays. But yeah, I don't, like you said earlier, I don't see a scenario where ASU just like shuts down Baylor's offense.
No. I mean, that would be great, but that's not going to happen. Yeah. What else about this game? Well, I do you think this is an opportunity for Kanye Udo to kind of get back on track after Texas State?
We'll see. The feeling I get with Udo is in the second half of against Mississippi State, it looked like him and Raleek were 1A and 1B. But then against Texas State, Raleek was 1 and Udo was 2.
Right. Yeah.
And then it looks like Kyson Brown's getting healthy and he's going to come back. And my thoughts about that are I think what's keeping Udo from being 1B is not his ability to run the football. It's he's spent most of his career in an offense where he hasn't been asked to pass protect or catch the football. And so he's behind Raleek Brown and Kyson Brown in those areas. And when he's on the field, I think ASU feels like they do not have the full playbook available to them when he's on the field because he doesn't have as much experience pass protecting and catching the football. And when Raleek Brown is in or Kyson Brown is in, they've got the full spectrum of the playbook available because both those guys do both things well.
And the defense has to be worried about.
Yeah. And so I really like the way Udo runs the ball. Like in the second half against Mississippi State, he was great. And I kind of assumed, it's going to continue to be 1A and 1B against Texas State, but that wasn't the case. Raleek was 1 and Udo was 2. And now with Kyson coming back, like we'll see who wins out between Kyson and Kanye Udo for that, that second spot. And maybe Udo in practice keeps making progress when it comes to that other stuff. And so, he's gonna be a useful running back because, man, he builds up such a head of steam when you give him the ball running downhill, and it just seems like it's tough to bring him down before he gets 2 or 3 yards.
Right.
So you need a tough yard or two. He's a great option to have.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's how I feel about Kanye. I think if I had to guess, I would think that's what's holding him back.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? This could be a game for him. Like if ASU's run, offensive line just really starts moving furniture, then who knows?
I think Udo gets more run and gets more carries if they get themselves into more
short yardage.
If they have 3rd and 2s, like he's going to be in a lot.
Right.
But if they continue to be inconsistent and are in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, like I don't think he can be on the field in those situations.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Kyson Brown coming back. With him, I think that right now he is the most reliable running back in the pass game. I still think they'll be able to get Raleek Brown involved. It just hasn't quite hit yet with him catching passes. That's that. What is like the word on Kyson Brown? Because I haven't heard.
I've been away from the internet for a lot of the day today. Okay. But the last I saw that he was practicing this week.
Oh, okay.
So okay. I don't know if they said for sure if he was gonna play against Baylor or not, but he was practicing this week.
I think we would have heard today, right? If they say
there probably was some news today, and I just didn't see it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of kind of one more topic before we wrap this up, like speaking of secondary pass catchers, obviously Jordan Tyson's going to get. He's going to have a good game on Saturday. How good? Who knows? But I imagine a good game from Jordan Tyson. Do you think it will be one of the secondary if another kind of secondary, let's say non-Mateer, non-running back, non-Tyson player gets more involved in the passing game? Do you think it's one of the secondary wide receivers or one of the secondary tight ends, those being Anderson and Harpole?
Yeah, Harpole hasn't shown me that he can do it yet. Like I think he's just not a full service tight end yet.
Right.
And there's a reason why he's on the field a lot, because he's a great blocker, and it seems like he's shown some potential for being a good pass catcher in practice, but he hasn't done it in games yet. So I
It
don't
doesn't
see
help that
him.
Tyson. It doesn't help. Sorry to interrupt, but it doesn't
Yeah.
help that Levitt completely missed him on a touchdown, and then
Yeah, and that looked like a miscommunication where Levitt thought he was going to keep running, and Harpole kind of turned around and slowed down, kind of
okay.
settled in the open area, and so it's hard
Anyway,
to say, but Kamari Anderson, he looks good. McLean has been one of these days. McLean's going to have a game where he has 5 or 6 catches at least, because he's been open. Levitt's missed him several times, including in the first half against Mississippi State.
Oh my gosh.
And so like it feels like one of these games McLean is gonna have like a 5-catch, 65-yard game or something like that, and be adequate as a number 2 receiver. And then who knows? Like at some point they're gonna feel comfortable with Jaron Hamilton. Like it just seems like they're not comfortable with him yet. They almost hit him on the big pass against Texas State. He's been doing it in practice. Could we see Hamilton have like 2 or 3 like explosive receptions? Like, yeah, is he? But I don't see him having a game where he has 6 to 8 receptions though.
Oh no, I'll be happy to get.
Like if he has 2 catches for 65 yards, that's progress, and that's great.
I'd sign up for that right now. Yeah.
And so McLean's the guy who I think is like it seems like he's been doing it. It just hasn't, like, the breaks haven't gone his way yet. And so one of these games, like, Levitt's going to find him. Levitt's going to throw him more catchable passes, and he's going to have 5 or 6 receptions.
That's a good way to put it. And I feel like ex-Raphael had a few games like that last year where, and I think, well, maybe McLean is better than Raphael. I guess we'll kind of see by the end of the year, because you mentioned how he's gotten open. But I think like this game has the potential. Well, maybe not this game because of how much they're going to run the ball. That's the thing. Like, or we expect them to run the ball a lot. But it would be great if like they just kind of forget about McLean on a play, because he's kind of just the other guy in this offense right now. But he's clear. Like it seems like he's had a good like attitude about it, because I met like if you're open and you're not getting the ball and you're like, the 4th option or whatever, like that could be tough. But I think that he can maybe see the process of it. So that's a big. I mean, if McLean does have a big game this week, it either means that ASU is trailing the entire time and always throwing, and he's kind of eating up on some soft coverage, or ASU just wins and has a really good offensive performance. I feel like it's one of those two.
Yeah. This is probably not the game where you see a second receiver like totally break out. But again, like, I mean, 3 or 4 catches would be progress for him, right?
Yep.
And so
that would be great. I mean, if you gave me like 3 catches for 40 yards from McLean, I wouldn't be overjoyed, but I would be like, okay, like that just makes things a little bit easier on everyone else, Yeah. So, this has been good conversation. Before we kind of, okay, let's give our game picks for this, and then maybe talk about like a few general Big 12 stuff. What do you think final score is here?
Oh man, I make predictions. I make them with little confidence.
Not enough people watch this to have any sort of impact. So I get it though. Totally.
Man, my heart says ASU wins close, but it's hard. If I had to pick a game, I would say ASU loses close, and it's like 34-28 or like 31-28 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I get that totally. I'm going to go 35-31 ASU. I can't get the thing is like I can't get over the Baylor run defense stats. and what we've seen from Malik Brown. That's kind of the thing I keep coming back to. And I mean, I picked ASU to beat Mississippi State, but I was extremely nervous 2 weeks ago at this time. I was very nervous because, I mean, that Northern Arizona game was not comforting at all. And Mississippi State looked better than we thought. I think Baylor has kind of looked exactly what we thought they were going to look like. And it should be a good game. So, I mean, I'm excited about watching it, kind of playing I don't know if ASU's ever played Baylor before. If they have, it's been a long time ago. And so new environment, but sticking with the Big 12, I think ASU and Baylor both kind of look like, right now, they look like second-tier teams in the Big 12.
Yeah, they're both like 8 to 9 win teams. Is what it looks
how they're trending, and I'm holding that hope. Like, I think ASU can still have a really good year. I think we've seen.
They have the potential to be better. Like we know ASU can win 10 or 11 games. They haven't played like that yet, though.
Correct. Yeah. So this is just in terms of how teams have played to this point. Do you think the favorite in the Big 12 is playing in the Utah-Texas Tech game on Saturday?
I think whoever wins that game is the favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, like when I do weekly power rankings on my X account, and Iowa State's at the top right now because they have the quality wins at this point. So it'll depend on what they do this weekend, but it's hard to say. It's hard to see how the winner of that game is not the favorite. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, BYU has been pretty good considering the offseason tumult they've gone through. Arizona is good. Like, they're definitely a better team than they were last year. I don't think that because they're 3-0, they're just gonna cruise the rest of the year. But I think they play Oklahoma State next. Is that right? I mean, it's a good team to play, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, BYU's at Eastern Carolina.
Oh no, I was talking about
off last week, and then they're at Eastern Carolina. Yeah. BYU's first 6 games, they have an easy schedule. Yeah. BYU should be 6-0 going into their game against Utah.
Sorry, I was talking about Arizona.
Arizona. Sorry, yeah. You moved on, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I just think they're better than they were last year. It's hard to say what their ceiling is because of who they've played. But they're better. They're not a pushover like they were last year. You can't just look at that game and be, that's an automatic win.
No.
Yeah. They're better. And that's the truth. We don't like to say that as ASU fans, but
they're clearly better. Yeah. I mean, I for sure. I think whoever wins the Utah-Texas Tech game will be the favorite, definitely in the driver's seat. But I think TCU is still that they have something to prove, and maybe there's someone that completely comes out of nowhere. Maybe it's Houston. Who knows? But Chris, it's been great to have you on, and I mean, this ASU season has been, I'd say, a bumpy ride so far, but I think it feels like they've at least figured some things out entering Big 12 play. So that should be exciting to see how all that comes together on Saturday. Again, that's Chris. You go by @SmartSunDevil on X. How about you kind of shout out your account, and I believe you have a Substack as well.
I have a Substack. The Substack is not a super consistent thing. It's when I have something on my mind and something I want to write about, I write about it. And so hopefully I can get 3 or 4 things out this season. But yeah, it's just the SmartSunDevil on Substack, and then @SmartSunDevil on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. And then it's been great being on the podcast. This is my first podcast experience, so it's kind of fun. Got that off my bucket list. So
there you go. All right. Well, I hope you're not expecting a huge listenership for this one. So
Baby steps.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Like ASU football this year, getting
There you
better
go.
as it goes along. All right. Thank you all for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, go Sun Devils.